Well, hello and welcome back to my workbench. It is time once again to fix something. Today on the workbench, we're taking a look at another PS5. This is a 1215, I believe, one of the last, or the last of the FAP series. And I think this is a no power. The description was rather short. I think it just says console only, no power, or something like that. But yeah, let's see how no power it is. I'm going to give it 120 volts right here and see if we see a dip. Yep, power supply started up. That little dip back over says that power supply did start, so not going to be a dead supply, I'm afraid. Not that easy. And it does not respond to the power button. How about the eject? No. Okay. Rather dead. Okay. Let's get the covers off and see if we can determine the reason why. I'm still pushing the button, yeah. Thought it might beep eventually, but nope, not yet. All right, cover's coming off. And with the side plate off, I see many screws missing. So, not a good sign. I did notice when I was plugging it in back here in the back. Look at the case. Not quite put together, is it? Doesn't quite line up. So yeah, somebody's been pretty far into this one. See if we can figure out what's going on with it. Well, as I was taking apart, I couldn't help but notice that the ribbon cable is disconnected. And, get some tweezers, the ribbon cable for the power button and eject button is disconnected down here. So, perhaps we need to test again, because this may end up being a beep on off. Get that ribbon back seated. This one's not routed exactly like it should, but it'll do for now. Let's give it some power. I don't see any signs of work so far. Give it a second to get ready and watch for a light. No light. No. So I'm assuming we do have 12 volts. I did see a power supply start up, I thought. Let's just see here. Yeah, 12 volts is all good. 5 volts is all good. So, 1.8. So is this just a dead south bridge? Let me turn off the power and check for a short over at the south bridge. Is it going to be that simple? 19 ohms. Yes, it is. Dead south bridge. Well, I can get on that. Now the reading's gone away. Did I just discharge a capacitor? Maybe not. Maybe it's not a shorted south bridge. It's a very odd reading. Saw 19 ohms for a moment. Yeah, I've got the power turned off. There still could be a little bit of voltage there. Let's just see. 0.05. There was a little bit there. It's bleeding off though. Yeah, now we're in the K ohms. Okay, so that was a false alarm on that 19 ohm reading, I suppose. In the K ohms on all those. So, not that simple. Let's get this board out. See what kind of current draw we get. Well, I have removed the board from the chassis because I'd like to see how much current it's drawing. I'm going to connect it to my bench power supply and just see what kind of current draw we get. A little bit of a dry spot there. So, I still don't see any signs of work anywhere around the south bridge or anything, so maybe it hasn't been worked on. Let's give it 12 volts. Make sure again my polarity is right. Yes. And give it 12 volts and see what happens. That's rather dead. Very dead. Okay. Something's missing. What is missing? I'm going to have a look in this area around the standby power supplies and the south bridge to see what we can see. All right, well, I have been going all over this board looking around just trying to find anything obvious, and I have not found anything obvious. I'm suspecting a dead south bridge, but I don't have the usual signs of a dead south bridge, which would be a short on some of these power rails, you know, on the back on these inductors. I usually can measure it around this RT5126, or this is the dialogue chip, whatever, same difference. I can measure it on a capacitor. I'll measure a short on one of the rails out of this chip that feeds the south bridge. I don't see that. Everything's in the K ohms. Everything looks good and proper. But it only draws like 4 milliamps. So 4 milliamp draw is like nothing. That means nothing is happening. And let me show you. Let me get the scope up here. I'm going to hook the power supply back to it. And let's go to the oscilloscope and the microscope. And let's look at something I usually like to check for is, where's my scope probe? There it is, the 32 kilohertz oscillator running. See if I can get on it. Let me show you where I'm going to be looking. Right on these test pads right there. That's a bit too bright. Let me fix that. One moment, let me fix this scope. All right, that's slightly better. More than somewhat. All right, let's look on one of these test pads right here by the crystal. Let me give it 12 volts. Still a 5 milliamp current draw. I'm going to have to, let me see, set my scope probe to 10x so I don't load it down. And let's see if we can get a little more gain here. There we go. 32 kilohertz. She's running just fine. And I can probably check, although I can't recall if it would be running at this point, but there's another oscillator, a 25 megahertz oscillator. And I can't recall if it should be running right now. Right there beside the south bridge. If I get on this. Anything there? No, I don't think that one's running. But since we didn't load any of our software, it seems, let me turn this back down. Let's get our gain down. I'll go back to 1x on my probe. And there's about 1 volt per division. If I look at these resistors, these are all 47 ohm resistors. between the NOR chip and the south bridge. I'm going to get on one of these. You see we're at 3.3 volts, looks like. Let me tilt that up a little. Let me turn the power off. And what I would usually expect to see here as I apply power is some kind of data, some kind of activity. We go straight to 3.3 and nothing else. Let me check this next one. It stays low, which is odd. Doesn't do anything. And this next one also goes to 3.3. There's no transitions, no data of any kind. Check this last one. It stays low. So that to me just looks like a south bridge that has just given up and is not going to do anything. It's not trying to load its software out of the NOR. It just says, I'm done. So my best guess at this point is to change that south bridge out. They can just die without any obvious, shorts or anything. They can just die. So let's give that a shot. I'm going to get set up for it, and we'll change out that south bridge for a 61GG. I believe I have some of those on hand. Let's get it done. All right, with our south bridge replaced, I've connected my bench power supply. Let's give it 12 volts and see if it does anything any different. It does not. That looks the exact same pretty much. That's not good. Well, what is it then? It's got to be something somewhere in here. But what? So, replacing the south bridge did not fix it. So I went to looking around, back around the dialogue chip here that provides the power for the south bridge. And let me show you what I have found. On this corner, which is pin 17, I believe, we have a 1 ohm short to ground. Now, I did not check there earlier. So there's this capacitor, and I've traced this down. I know where it goes. It goes to the south bridge. It goes through this inductor right here. And then you have this capacitor to ground. So is my short on this side of the inductor or on this side of the inductor? Only one way to find out. See if I can add a little fresh solder to that. I'm just going to try to spin that thing around. Just kind of park it, sit down there. All right, now where is our short? Still the south bridge. So is the south bridge actually bad, or did I put this one on there not quite well enough and something shorted, or is that capacitor right there bad? It's kind of our options. Let me lift that capacitor. Capacitor looks pretty innocent though. I don't see any cracks in it or anything. Oh, another small capacitor down there. I didn't see that one. Let me get some flux in there. So I can go ahead and check it. Still shorted. This inductor is trying to escape, and the capacitor is stuck to my tweezers. Stay right there. What about that short? South bridge. South bridge itself, or something, or some of the balls merged under the south bridge. Oh, come on, there you go. You just spin back around. So, south bridge has got to come back off. Alright, well, as you can see, I have removed the south bridge. It's just sitting over here. And if I take my probe, if I can get this to zoom in a little, the capacitor I was checking on earlier is right there. And we still have a 1 ohm short to ground. So it was not the south bridge. So what is it? Good question. Well, after looking at the diagrams, it looks like that voltage comes in through this ferrite bead. It's on, I think it was 5003, 5021, something like that. I think that's the ones I removed earlier. But apparently it's also over here on C5072 and 5073. So that's our next stop. Didn't realize it was branching off to other parts of the board. So let's get this board back off the preheater and take a look at those. And those two capacitors, I believe, are going to be right over here. Yep, there's our 1 ohm short to ground. Notice it's lower over here than if we measure over here where we came in at. Well, about the same. I thought it had changed to be lower. So, 1 ohm. Let me connect a bench power supply. What I'm going to do is, I think, inject 1 volt right at this inductor right here. And I'll put a little bit of alcohol on those 2 caps, and let's see what happens. And I should turn the power supply on when I do this. Okay, now it's on. So I'm going to inject here. Oh yeah. Let me get a close-up view of that one. Make sure I'm on the right thing over here. That's pretty obvious. The bottom one does look darker in appearance, although I think they're supposed to be identical caps. It is darker. So, that was our problem the whole time. The original south bridge is probably fine. Let's get this cap removed. Get my nozzle back on my hot air. Get way too much flux on there because it likes to ooze out the end when it's just sitting in the holder. There's a capacitor under there somewhere. Actually, I can probably just remove it with the soldering iron, can't I? That thing's short, just get across it like this and there we go. There we go. Let me clean that up a little. Okay. Is our short gone now? Let's hope so. Oh, ground. That's ground. 13 k ohms across this nice little capacitor swimming in flux. 0.9 ohms. Make a very nice 1 ohm resistor. Let me see if I can find a suitable replacement. Then we've got to reball the south bridge and put it back on. But that should do it. Our south bridge has been replaced. Here it is, and I did reball and reinstall the original south bridge. This is not my replacement. That's sitting over there. I need to reball that one. This is the original one that I took off of it, and we're going to see if it's good. I have a suspicion there's nothing wrong with it. It was just that short capacitor. Check my polarity is correct. Let's give it 12 volts and see if it does anything that makes me happy here. There we go, 300 milliamps, and come back down. That looked good. It looked perfect. All right. So that capacitor was our original issue. So anyway, all right. South bridge reinstalled. Capacitor was replaced. That was a 1 microfarad capacitor, 6.3 volts. I did install that. I cleaned up the liquid metal. It had a bit of a dry spot in the middle. I've polished that up. Need to put some fresh liquid metal on there. And we'll put this back in the chassis and give it a quick test. The board is back in the chassis here. I think we're ready to test it. I got the fan connected, HDMI. I did not connect power. And plug it from this digital I was testing. Let's go over here. Plastic is kind of cracked a little there. This one's had some rough handling. All right, will she turn on? Let's see. Yeah, I don't have the Blu-ray attached, but we don't need it just to test, surely. There we go. Blue light, fan spinning. Can we get a picture? Not yet. Not yet. Maybe a storage check is coming, I don't know. Oh, white light. White light. Now we're getting a picture. Storage check. Okay, now we'll restart. But we're going to work. All right, that looks good. All right, let me put it all back together. Need to blow out some dust, get the Blu-ray hook back up, make sure it works, and we'll give it a full test. Well, this PS5 is fully reassembled. I've got a game installed on it. It's completely updated. Everything seems to be working fine. The Blu-ray reader works fine. So yeah, that one little capacitor took it down. I think I mentioned earlier, I did reinstall the original south bridge, so I did not have to replace that in the end. But yeah, I think she's going to be just fine. I did want to mention, I do apologize, it's been a while since my last video. Work has kind of held me down. Got a major renovation project underway right now that'll be ending about the middle of August next month. So it's been a little hard for me to find time to do much of anything other than get up and go to work. But I hope you enjoyed this one. Thought it was somewhat interesting, educational, entertaining, any of the above. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in that very next repair. Bye for now.